All right, today we're going to discuss understanding violence and victimization. Everybody's a victim. This is from Robert J. Meadows from California Lutheran University. This is the 5th edition. We got measuring and understanding violence, victimization theory, victims of intimate violence, stranger violence and victimization, workplace violence and harassment, school violence and victimization, criminal justice, injustice, that's really what it is, criminal justice, injustice, the violence of terrorism, responding to criminal victimization. All right. I think this is, since it comes from a Christian school, I'm almost going to say there might be a little bit of Christian-y in it. Oh, we'll just go off with just the beginning. All right. The fear of violent crime. Oh, this is actually pretty interesting. When you go into the victimization theory, I like that as well. But first, let's go to number 3, which is the fear, or the fear and violent crime. All right, well, here we go. We start off with a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt. We look forward to a world founded upon 4 essential freedoms. First is the freedom of speech and expression. The second is the freedom of every person to worship God in his own way. We need to work on that nowadays. The third is freedom from want. And then ... So I wonder what else he said. And the fourth is freedom from fear. I don't know about that one. Fear can be a good thing, right? That's why it's there, right? I don't know, let's see what they're talking about. Oh, wow. Yeah, I read a little part. Yeah, let's get into it. During the early morning hours of April 16, 2007, a disgruntled, mentally distraught Virginia Tech student entered a dormitory and classroom and killed 32 fellow students, faculty, and staff, and left about 30 others injured in the deadliest shooting rampage in the nation's history. The shooter carried a 9mm semi-automatic and a .22 caliber handgun. He later committed suicide. On a cold February night, handyman Carrie Stainer, with a gun and rope, knocked on a door of room 509 at the Cedar Lodge Motel near Yosemite National Park. Inside were 3 tourists, a mother and her 15-year-old daughter, and a young family friend. According to the offender's own admissions, he entered the cabin room, strangled and sexually assaulted 2 of the women at the scene, and savagely murdered all 3. The victims were removed from the cabin and burned beyond recognition. 6 months later, on July 14th, his rage continued. He murdered and decapitated Joey Armstrong, a 26-year-old environmental educator assigned to the park. After his arrest, the quiet loner admitted that he held a hatred for women, a hatred he had felt since 7 years old. In 2005 and 2006, a string of freeway shootings in Los Angeles endangered fear and panic for many freeway commuters. My goodness. What's wrong with these people? The murder victims in each of these preceding situations had no warning and in some cases did not know the killers. Who would expect this type of violence in a national park, on a highway, or on a college campus? We constantly read about gang and youth violence, racial and hate crimes, terrorism, and domestic violence, including child and elder abuse. As a nation, we rank first among all developed nations in the world of number of homicides. Oh, well, that's not good. The recent surge of school shootings, although rare, is not restricted to crime-ridden schools, but also occurs in middle-class communities. And we'll never forget the sniper shootings in the D.C. area and calculated attacks of September 11, when Islamic extremists killed thousands of innocent people. In addressing violent criminal acts, we need to understand the definition of violent crime. Violent crime, for the purpose of this book, is those acts committed against another in violation of a prescribed law. Examples of these offenses are murder, sexual assault, robbery, weapons crimes, or crimes involving bodily harm. Wow. This is actually pretty interesting. I'm not gonna keep reading the whole thing because you can read the book for yourself. But here you go. The concept of who is fearful. Although here, no, let's start a little bit earlier. Although studies have found that women and elderly report higher levels of fear of crime than do men and younger people, these two groups are much less likely to be victimized by crime. Those who are most fearful actually report the fewest victimizations. The concept of who is fearful and who should be fearful of victimization referred to as fear victimization paradox. That's interesting. That's very interesting. All right, so elderly people and women, you would think they are the most fearful, but they're the least to be fearful. Whatever he just said, you heard him. That's interesting. I want to go into victimization theory, like the introduction, which 31. Let's see. I'm already over time, so yeah, this Selen and Wolfgang's typology of victimization. Yeah, there's a lot of different models they got over here. They got Hengtig's victim and classification, Mendelssohn's typology. We got culture of victimization. Yeah, it looks like a really interesting book. Too bad I ran out of time.